Hi guys, welcome. My name is Amanda for those of you that are new here. For those of you who've been here before, welcome back again into Friends and Family Gear Day. Alrighty, I've been out to Golden Cockerel Outlet, which is a new outlet available to the public direct from the factory in the processing area down at Mount Cotton. And Golden Cockerel is poultry for those that don't know. And you have got all of the poultry products at a greatly reduced price, and everybody's leaving with lots of smiles on their faces leading up to Christmas, especially with the new financial problems that many of us will be experiencing now. The government has cut that energy rebate and our bills are about to get higher, which means also the cost of food will also continue to increase. So let's deal away with the cost of food crisis increasing and let's pick up some chicken really cheaply instead. So I went down specifically to have a look as well as to pick up some of the chicken strips as well. So what it looks like, because there's no filming or cameras allowed down there, it is the fridges in the lower car park, so the portable fridges down in the lower car park, as well as some canopies for staff as well as for the public, and lots of areas to queue because there is queues, lots of areas that are protected for the public to queue, but I'd still recommend taking a hat or an umbrella with you, especially during these hot summer days. And they have whiteboards with the products up. They are on Facebook. They have started a Facebook page as well, and they do list the products they've got available the day before, so you have an idea of what's coming up. They are open Tuesday, Friday and Saturday as well, so just 3 days a week, but long hours as well. Alrighty, I've gone down and picked up some of the chicken tenders or the chicken breast strips, and I've picked up the soy binder version because the soy binder versions were only $5 for 3 kilo plus bags of them, which, you know, that's $1.60 plus a kilo. It's cheap, $1.66-ish a kilo is what it works out to be if they are just the 3 kilo bags. But every bag that I weighed was over 3.5 was the biggest one, down to 3.2. So a really good price for all of that chicken. And it gives me an excuse to do some pressure canning that I've wanted to do for some time. Now, I've got the soy binder. Me personally, I'm just washing off the soy binder that's on the chicken, and I do that with chicken anyway when I buy it. I always rinse it when I buy a bulk, always do a rinse anyway, so I'm just washing it away anyway. And so I can continue and do some pressure canning, but I'm going to show you what one of the bags looks like because I'm going to do some pressure canning with some. So they had chicken strips, chicken mince and other fillets, like thigh fillets, were $4 for a kilo of them frozen. The chicken mince or the chicken strips, the same as what I have here, but just the plain ones, were $3 for 500 grams. So that would have been $6 a kilo. Instead, I've picked up the strips with the binder on it and only paid $1.66. So a great saving and very easy for me or anybody just to rinse it off like, you know, I suggested. And I always rinse the chicken, like I said, before I'm processing it anyway. So let's have a look at one of the bags. Alrighty, that's a bag, you know, nothing exciting there. Let's cut it open. So you buy them as individual bags. I bought a few of these bags. All right, they've got a kill date and a use by date on them as well, which is good to know if you want to know that information. So simply cutting off my top. And there's a second bag inside, all right? The second bag, no big deal, just undoing it, and it contains all of the chicken strips. They vary in size too. That's a whole chicken breast. That's not a strip, alrighty? So that's a whole piece. So they vary in sizes. All right, I'm just going to give all of this a rinse and we'll come back because I need to do some butter chicken and I'm going to pressure can it. So I simply took the bag to the sink, opened the bag up, filled it up with water, and I've rinsed most of the soy binder off these. We're going to be doing some buttered chicken. I need 3 kilos, and by the way, this whole bowl plus the large chicken that I separated, the full breast, that I've put away for making schnitzels with, this is what $5 of chicken looks like. Very cheap. Alrighty, so the recipe that I've got, I need to have 750 grams of chicken and I'm multiplying that 4 times. So I will say the single recipe, but I will do the 4 times, okay? Now, I found a recipe for butter chicken on the preserving website, which I will put a link into the description to the food preserving website, which is an Australian website, and it's a really good recipe, but I'm going to be using the ingredients that we love as our family, our standard ingredients, so not doing anything different except changing the spice mixes really. So Megan, who has established the website, the food preserving website, has got some great resources for those that are doing pressure canning. It's an Australian website, which means the measurements are an Australian metric system, which makes things a lot easier, and all of the times and things like that are all safe pressure canning times for us. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm not changing the pressuring times or anything like that. Her recipe for butter chicken is 750 grams of chicken pieces, no different to what I'm doing, and she pressure cans them. So I'm going to follow that as well, but just using my normal recipe. So let's prepare this chicken. It just needs to be chopped up, and I need to weigh out 3 kilos. Kitchen shears, it is just what you need. You don't need a knife or a board. But I mean, if you've got that, that's fine. I just am trying to eliminate as much mess as possible. And chicken is one of those meats, when it gets into the cutting board, basically it's a chicken board after that point. And so when I do chicken, I always use the red board. You would have noticed that. That is my chicken board normally, or my raw meat board is the red board. And just to save on dishes at the moment, because I did a lot of dishes this week, I figured I would just use the shears because that's quick and easy as far as preparing chicken. All right, let me cut up and weigh out 3 kilos of this chicken breast, which is beautiful, tender, fresh, young chicken breast. This would actually be perfect also, and I'm thinking of different ways that I'm going to be using the 15 odd kilos that I have frozen, will be perfect to be velveting and doing Asian style recipes, or getting put into pasta dishes, for example. I did recently do the Ingham shop as well, so I've got lots of the darker meat, the thigh meats, but I didn't get a lot of chicken breast. I did get some. I think I ended up with 6 kilos of diced chicken breast, but not strips. These are the only strips I've got. So currently doing the inventory in the pantries, as well as going through the freezer once again and marking all of the produce that we've got to come into the 365 challenge. So how much chicken I have, for example, and not including what was already in the freezer. This past week, I have bought $190 worth at Ingham's, and this was $30 in total that I spent at Golden Cockerel, and I could barely carry the box in from Golden Cockerel. So I have 25 from Ingham's and another almost 20, so about 45 kilos of chicken alone, not including what was in the freezer of whole chickens. That alone is enough protein, meat-wise. It's about 20 odd weeks, 6 months, if I was just doing chicken. And I don't just do chicken, obviously, so, you know. All right, let me keep cutting this up and measuring this out. All right, guys, that is it. Weighed off, I have exactly 3 kilos. Considering I'd already taken out some chicken, that's pretty good. So I'm going to, these are double recipes. So this is 1.5 kilos of chicken, and the recipe that I follow, which is a family favourite recipe, is for 750 grams of chicken. I'm obviously not going to do any of the dairy because we are going to be canning it, but I will do the lemon juice. So for a single recipe, it's just 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. So instead I'm going to add, just finish off this lemon juice that was in the fridge. Simple. So if it was a single recipe, that would have been 1 tablespoon. I need a teaspoon of turmeric as well into each of mine for a single, so I will be doing 2. So this is the spice blend and the marinade stage of doing the buttered chicken from scratch. Instead of using a pre-done jar, we are going to be doing it from scratch. 2 teaspoons of garam masala per recipe. I will put my recipe in the description as well. It is just our standard family recipe that we have been using for some time, and my son loves this made fresh, so I will see what he thinks about it in a pressure canned jar instead, you know, because the chicken is cooked. He doesn't like ugly chicken, and he doesn't like chicken that is being put raw with sauces into jars. The texture the family don't love. So instead, hoping that cooking it this way, it's no different to the commercially purchased jars of butter chicken instead. All right, so that was just ground ginger, and instead of fresh garlic, I'm going to use the garlic powder, and each one normally gets 1 teaspoon, so just 2 teaspoons. Like I said, I will put all of these details into the description for those that want to follow this recipe or have used the recipe in the past. And that is it. All we need to do now is combine all of that together really well, pop it in the fridge while we start the sauce. Smells absolutely, always does. It smells amazing mixing all of those spices together. Definitely don't ever buy butter chicken, not the blend in the jar, not the packet spice mixes or anything like that. That spice mix alone, all you need to do is add some natural yogurt or even some sour cream if you're doing butter chicken yourself at home, and just some lemon juice, and that just helps to tenderize the chicken. That's it, no big deal. And we know we can lemon juice, so that is a safe ingredient to use, and it's going to help to tenderize this chicken. So I'm hoping it will have a really good result. Some of this possibly won't even make it into the jars. I'll probably leave just enough out for maybe 1 or 2 dishes, because each of this recipe, 750 grams, should yield you 4 pints, which is 2 quarts. So I should have enough here to do 2, 4, 6, 8 quarts, but my canner only holds 7. So there will be some left over, because there's quite a bit of sauce that needs to go into the recipe in order to make it a safe canning recipe, because we can only have 50% technically of meat. So I'm going to grab out some of the really big A10 tins of tomatoes, because that's a good way to use them, because we do need to use a fair bit of tomato crushed up. And I've got the cans of the tomatoes, so let's put them to use as well, which is going to make this an incredibly cheap bunch of jars that I'm going to be making, because those cans were $2 when I bought them from a kitchen that was closing down. So they're not normally $2. Some of them were $1 because they were damaged, and I'll hunt the shelves and find the damaged ones probably first. They should be used first because they are damaged. So I will have a look for some of the dented tins. I think I'm going to need 1 of the tins, may need 2, not sure. I'll have a look. If I open 2, then I'm just going to have to do some reprocessing of them as well. So I just open 1. All right, that's our chicken all mixed together. Into the fridge it can go, and we can make the sauce. Okay, for the sauce, I've got my 8 cups of onion, and I have got my 12 cups of tomato crushed, and I'll just put it all together into a large stock pot, and then onto the stove it's going to go until it is boiling. Once it's boiling, you know, time to add the chicken with all of those beautiful flavours as well. So simple done. And just going to open up some jars for just using products that we already had on the shelves. And in my case, I'd already pre-canned the onions, except for these couple that were left over, my last 2 fresh onions at the moment. And I just need to open these guys. There is some liquid in each of my onions as well, but no salt. So I'm going to add that. It's just extra liquid with flavour. So I am going to add that. If I end up with extra, like I said, we're not going to be able to can all of this chicken. It's going to be too much, because the canner only fits 7 quarts, and this mix will make up 8 quarts. So there's going to be some left over, so that'll be perfect for meals. Right, that's the sauce into the stove. That can go. Alrighty, let's get on to doing the maple syrup, which I need for baking, and I don't have any, and I've used all of the syrup that I've made. So this is the brown sugar. Very simple to make this as well. We need to have, because I'm going to do a double recipe, I need 2 cups of the brown sugar and 2 cups of caster sugar. And yes, I know it's a lot of sugar, but it's okay, because actually let's just use all of that, and I'll make up some fresh brown sugar as well. All right, I'll make up brown sugar while I'm thinking about it at the same time. All right, so 2 cups of brown sugar, 2.5 cups, 2 cups of caster sugar, 2 cups of water. Then we just put this onto the stove until it's boiling, and then we can add our final ingredient. Again, another simple recipe to make, and definitely don't need to be buying maple syrup when you can make it that quickly. Okay, let's get the brown sugar made. So simple. Once again, 2 ingredients, molasses and white sugar. That's it. That's all it takes. I need to fill that jar, and that's going to take at least 4 cups of the white sugar. Once again, another ingredient that you should just not be buying when you can make it. All right, you can make this as dark or light as you like. All right, I'm using the blackstrap molasses. There is another form. This is the only kind we have because this is what we use for the livestock. All you need, for every cup, you need about a tablespoon of the molasses. Because I've got 4 cups, I'm going to put in 1/4 cup of the molasses and then mix that together well, and then just see whether that's dark enough. If it's not dark enough, I'll add some more molasses to it. Meanwhile, my sauce is still not ready on the stove yet, so we might as well get these other jobs out of the way as well. Now, a quick way for me just to get that well mixed is just to pop it into the blender and give it a quick blitz up, and then I will get on to the maple syrup, which by now the sugar will be very close to being dissolved on the stove. And then we can add the final ingredient and get that into some bottles and seal it, and then that can go onto the shelves for baking later on. Alrighty, that works for me, and I'll just fill up my jar, and then that's one more job out of the way, although now I need to fill up my sugar container, but that's okay. Always filling something up here. Alrighty, so this here is our brown sugar. Simple. Get that into the jar and then onto the maple syrup. Alrighty, done. So that there is how we cook from scratch, actually making our ingredients instead of purchasing for convenience sake, when it's so much easier to make it yourself. So that is just simple brown sugar. So this here is the magic ingredient. So the chicken's been marinating in the fridge. Now it's time to put it into the pot, and let's cook this off. In goes our chicken. So this is all my chicken, the full 3 kilos of it going into my sauce. Just going to get all of those spices into the pot as well. Just put the pressure canner in position so that it can heat up as well. And my jars are now on the sink, filled with hot water as well, and they're also just staying warm because we will be putting this in there very soon. All right, we just come back up to a simmer. I've just stirred it down, so it's not a boil, it's a simmer at the moment. So I just need to bring this up to a boil. The chicken is so tender, it's starting to break apart already. So I'm just going to be careful with it before it goes into the jars as well. But they're nearly done. Alrighty, we are good to go. My son has tasted it and he is a happy chappy, and he would like a bowl of it already, which is why it's really good that I get this into jars before it disappears. Alrighty, I have just emptied out my jars so they're nice and hot. And we're simply going to fill the jars. I'm going to use my giant ladle. You know, it's 380 odd mils, which means this should be pretty quick filling job. Using the jar filler funnel, and I'm just going to ensure that every single jar has enough chicken. So I try to put the chicken in sort of first, so I've got an idea, and then top them up with some of the sauce as well. That way everything is pretty even. There will be some of this left over, like I said, because there is more chicken than what I need for this number of jars, but that's perfectly fine. It means that the family can have butter chicken today as well as an option. But I just want to get about 50% or so solids, and then the rest is going to be sauce into the jars. Then I'll have to clean everything down really well, like we always do. Alrighty, let's write down our rims really well. These jars are hot because that is still seriously hot liquid, which is why the jars needed to be warm, as well as the canner is also warming at the moment. So I've already wiped the jars once, and I'm just making sure there is no residue on any of them, any oils. I've already done it once with a wet cloth and some vinegar. And now I'm just making sure that there's nothing else in the way. I have debubbled as best I can, you know, because I've just given them a really good swirl around to make sure there's no air trapped in any of these jars before we put our lids on. They're looking pretty good, and they all have got 1 inch headspace. So it's time that we put our lids on these guys and get them into the pressure canner. And there's not an awful lot left over either. Probably enough for 1 meal for my son, and that is all. So it was a good amount of sauce and chicken to get what will be 7 of these meals on a shelf, and has cost me next to nothing. $3 for the chicken. I used one of the cans and I opened the wrong can, not the damaged can, and it was a $2 can. So it's $5 for the sauce plus the spices and the chicken. So $5 for all of this, maybe $6 or $7 in total for the lot. So you're talking $1 a jar. You know, that is pretty darn good, the value. All right, so I'm just going to tighten these until they are finger tight, no more, but secure enough that their rings are not going to come off, because they are going to be in the canner for 90 minutes processing for quarts, 75 for pints. Like I said, the recipe normally does 4 pints, but I have quadrupled the recipe. All right, into the pressure canner they go. So into the pressure canner, that is now warming up, and I've just checked its temp, which feels close to what my jars are. So I'm going to start to put my jars into the canner, preferably them not touching each other. And I did do a test stack first, so I do know they were all fit. It's just when I move from these round jars, which, you know, are really good to fit in this canner, and move over to the Aussie Mason jars, which are not round. And I also want to make sure that they are not touching the side of the canner itself, because I don't want any of that thermal shock. I need to put in my square jars. So these are my Aussie Mason jars. Once again, making sure nothing, although the jars may be touching each other in the centre, they're not touching the outside of the canner. That's more important. Alrighty, lid can go on and we can start the heating up and the venting of the canner. Okay, so I'll just line up my arrows, drop my lid in place, squeeze my canner closed, and now we let it vent until we've got a steady stream of steam coming from here. So making sure that all my safety checks are done, no problems or lids on, and this guy can now cook. Well, that's not too bad. It's not quite 9 o'clock. It's 5 minutes to 9, and all of the cooking for the day has already been done as well. I've made up some maple syrup, as well as completely refilled my jar of brown sugar as well for the pantry. And that helps with the cooking from scratch, is making sure that I've got all those basic ingredients always in the pantry as well, because that's the proper definition, I guess, or the true definition of cooking from scratch, is not using any of the convenience already pre-made ingredients and instead making them from scratch. So if you can't make it, then you obviously would buy it. So there's certain items like Vegemite. Obviously I can't make Vegemite, although I'd like to, but no, I can't make Vegemite. So instead that's one of the items that we do buy. But most of the items that are in the pantries are made from scratch ingredients. And so cooking from scratch, it takes a little bit of, I guess, knowing how to do the different ingredients, or just knowing that you can make those ingredients yourself, and how simple it is to make ingredients like our baking ingredients in particular, especially things like baking powder, as well as all of our baking flours, so self-raising flour as well. We can make that ourselves, and also we can make, there's so many things in that cupboard, let's have a look. All sorts of things in the cupboard. Rightio, baking powder, vanilla powder, which is powdered sugar, but vanilla flavoured instead, and that's just using the vanilla powder instead of using fresh powder. Ranch seasoning, so making up jars of ranch seasoning instead, and that's made with buttermilk powder, very simply done as well, just a few ingredients, and I've got myself ranch powder whenever I need to make a dressing or a dip as well as lots of other different things, whether it be golden syrup, powdered sugars, what else we got? We've got candied nuts, so much. But that's how it is when you are cooking from scratch. And yes, my pantry's a mess and I need to deal with that as well. But, you know, I've been busy doing butter chicken today and packing away chicken. So the pantry I'm doing inventory of at the moment. So it's just taking me a little while to get to that. I'll get there, you know, one job at a time. All right, thanks guys for joining me. I will put up a picture of the butter chicken once it's completed. It needs to cool down. It is going to process in the canner for a full 90 minutes. And then we are done. Yeah, got stuff to do. Got big buckets arriving today to put away some of the bulk stores, which I will be showing you in the next video. All right, thanks for joining me. Bye now. Oh, they've got gamma lids as well, so they will be very useful in the dry stores area. Alrighty guys, everything has come out of the canner, no problems at all. I've got 7 jars for the shelves. They are bubbling away as they are cooling down, and each of these jars, which are enough to serve 4 people, have cost just over $1 a jar. Pretty good savings actually for the family budget. Alright, thanks guys. Bye now.